Now, the other week, I did a video on the top 10 fastest depreciating cars in Britain. And there was a couple of Maseratis in there, a couple of big Audi saloons. But not surprisingly, the top 3 were all milk floats. And number 1 was the hateful, the horrible, the detestable Nissan Leaf. The fastest depreciating car in Britain. And not surprisingly, it's a horrible thing. And yes, there are videos on here of me driving a Nissan Leaf. It's not something I'm proud of. We all do things in life we're not proud of. Mine is, I once drove a Nissan Leaf, well, 2 or 3 times actually. And it's right up there with the Renault Zoe videos, which are also available to watch, in which I make the statement, it's the first time in my life I've not been happy to be inside a Zoe. So what I thought I'd do is look at the Nissan Leaf and see if I could buy one brand new on Auto Trader, and then look and see if I could buy one for 3 years old and see if things have progressed. So you can buy brand new this Nissan Leaf. It's brand new. It's already discounted. So they're not flying out to showrooms as it is. They've knocked 1,500 quid of it. No, 1,300 quid. Was 31.5 grand. Now 30,270 quid. And that'll get you a brand new one. I mean, it's crap. The brand new one has a range straight out the showroom of 168 miles. That's it. That's maximum. 168 miles. I mean, it's possible it would get me to Taunton, but it ain't getting me no further than that. So what would happen is I'd drive from here to Exeter. It's about 84 miles to Exeter, and then I'd stop, and then I'd plug it in, and then I'd charge it back up, and that would take half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, depending on, there should be charging stations free at Exeter if they're all working. And then I could move on, and then I'd have to stop again at Bristol, because you can't risk going any further. Once you go over 100 miles, things start to get a bit dodgy, and you don't know whether the next charging station is going to work. So 168 miles is absolutely fucking pointless anyway. But that's by the by. That's 168 miles brand new. These things, once you run them for a few years, I seen one the other day, and yes, all right, this is a 15-year-old one, but it now has a range of 38 miles. Fully charged. Fully charged, a range of 38 miles. That's all it does. So the battery life in these things drops like a stone. So with that in mind, you've just bought, 3 years ago, you bought yourself a Nissan Leaf, brand new, for 30 grand. 3 years time, what's it going to be worth? Well, what could you resell it for through a dealer? Not what you traded in for, because you could knock 20% off that for your trade-in price. So you're never going to trade this in. You're just going to hand it back after your 3-year lease and hope that your balloon payment is more than the value of the car. It won't be. It'll be no, you want your balloon payment to be less than the value of the car. See? See what I did there? It won't be. So I had a look. I'll just buy exactly the same car, 3 years old. I'll go on Auto Trader, see what I can find. And I found this one. Three years old. Range has dropped. Don't know what the range is. I'm going to estimate 130 miles probably by now with a 3-year-old one. But more importantly, it's depreciated by £22,505 from its recommended retail price, bought new. 71.5% depreciation. On a crap car to start with a crap range to start with, which 3 years later is even crapper and has a crapper range. It is the Thomas Crapper of cars. He invented the toilet, in case you're wondering. 71.5% depreciation. £22,505. And that is what the dealer's selling it for. So your trade-in price is going to be at least 20% less than that. So it's up for, what, 8,995. That dealer's not offering you more than 7.5. So in fact, you've lost more than that. Knock another 1,500 quid off it. It's 24 grand. You're up over 70 feet. 3/4 of the value gone in depreciation in 3 years. 3/4. If I give you a tenner and then come back in 3 years' time, you give me £2.50 back, that's not a good investment. I mean, you may have had some fun with that tenner. We may have had some fun with that. But not, you ain't having fun in a Nissan Leaf. Those two things don't go together. That's just not happening. And I just find it incredible that these things are still being pushed as the future. And everyone goes, oh yeah, but the second-hand market will be buoyant because they depreciate so fast. And this is a logic that's been put to me by milk floaters. And it doesn't work. And for the very simple reason is that if you have one of these things, and now it's established that they depreciate by that much over 3 years, the finance companies are going to get wise to it, and they're going to up the payments. Because they're going to have to, because the difference between the final value and the balloon payment is going to be radically wide. So they're going to have to change the payments. The minute they change the payments, it stops being a desirable car. So people stop having them from new. And if people stop having them from new, there is no second-hand market because there's nothing coming back into the second-hand market. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the idea that fast depreciating cars creates a buoyant market is utter bollocks. It's quite the opposite, as we will see play out over the next couple of years, no doubt. But in the meantime, if you're thinking about going out and getting a car, and particularly paying cash for one, I don't know why you do that, I don't know. You literally need to go and see a psychiatrist before you see a car dealer. You could lose, well, up to 24 grand on a 30 grand car just by parking it up outside your house for 3 years and putting it on charge. And the great thing is, no matter how many miles you're doing it, by the end of that 3 years, it'll do less miles on range. It's just one of the greatest things ever. I mean, in fact, the only good thing about it is that you don't see many of these catching fire. So there you go. The Nissan Leaf. The worst value car in Britain. Easily. For more than one reason. But the main thing is that my reason for not buying one is that it is future my arse.